Lift your eyes to the banner on the ridge, the colors I raised over you while your own arms were failing. Not the flag of the crowd that shouts the loudest, not the standard of the ones who counted you finished, not the pole you have been trying to hold upright all by yourself. As I speak, before your arms give way one more time, I am driving it deep into the ground in front of you. Rally back to me, not to the last scrap of your own strength. Come up here, where I can be heard. There is no rush in this. The fight down below you is real. I'm not going to pretend it is smaller than it is. But there is a question sitting underneath your exhaustion. Before these words are through, I mean to answer it. You keep asking whether you can hold the line long enough. I'm going to show you why that is the wrong question. And I'm going to give you one short line instead, carved into stone by people whose arms were shaking exactly the way yours are shaking. It changes the whole thing. I see you. I have watched this fight go long, far longer than anyone warned you it would. The thing you were certain would be settled in a season has stretched out into something with no visible edge, and you are still standing in it. Almost nobody notices. Endurance is quiet. It does not look like anything from the outside, but I counted the days. There is no medal for the person who simply did not fall over. The one of you caring for someone who is not getting better. I know what the third stretch of that feels like. The visitors have thinned out, and it is just you and the same hard room. Somewhere a hopeful message went out again, rewritten one more time to sound strong. It sank without a ripple. I was there when the screen went dark. A parent stands in a doorway between a child and something that no fist can reach. And a prayer that used to run long has quietly gotten shorter. Some days it is almost only my name said once into the ceiling. None of that is hidden from me. And I know the small private evidence of how long it has already been. The message you typed out and saved and never sent because you could not find a way to say, I am struggling, that did not feel like a weight laid on the person reading it. The two columns you weighed out in the quiet. Reasons to keep going on one side, reasons to stop on the other. And they never quite settle, no matter how many times you count them. The way you have learned to answer, how are you holding up, with one flat word that ends the conversation. Because the true answer takes too long, and it asks too much of whoever is standing there. I have read every one of those unsent messages. I keep them. Nothing you carried in silence was lost on me. And hear this, because I think a part of you has quietly decided the opposite. The fight going long is not a punishment. It is not evidence that you got something wrong back at the beginning and are now paying it off in installments. Long is simply what some battles are. The people I have loved most walked through the longest of them. A slow fight is not a sign I turned away. It is very often the exact place where I do the deepest and least visible work. The kind that would never have room to grow inside a quick and easy rescue. Hear what the long fight actually does to a person, because I think you have been blaming yourself for the wrong thing. It rarely breaks you with one great blow. It wears the arms down. In the first stretch, you lift your hope up high, and you hold it steady. Later, your shoulders begin to burn, and somewhere past that, without ever deciding to, you start to let it sink. Not because you stop believing, because muscle gives out before faith does. That is not a flaw in your character. That is simply what arms are. I made them. I know their limit far better than you do. So let me tell you plainly what I am not going to say to you. I'm not going to tell you to try harder. I'm not going to hand you a bright slogan and clap while you strain against something too heavy to hold. The people who do that have never carried a heavy thing for very long. I have. I know that willpower is a small candle, and the fight you are in is a long, windy corridor. A candle is not the answer to a corridor like that. It never was. What I brought you up here to give you is not more grip. It is a different place to look. All this time you have been staring down at your own two hands, watching them tremble, just watching, doing the frantic math of how much longer they can possibly hold. That is why the fear keeps winning. When your whole field of vision is your own failing strength, the story reads like defeat. Of course it does, but your strength was never the thing standing over you. It was never the flag. It was only ever the pair of arms that got tired underneath it. And tired arms have nothing to do with whether the colors are still raised. Before we go any further, do one small thing with me. Draw a single breath in, slowly, and right at the top of it hold still for one unhurried count. Then let it leave you, even slower than it arrived. Notice that for that one held moment, nothing at all was required of you. You were not holding any line. You were simply being held. That is far closer to the truth of your situation than the panic has been letting you feel. Because here is the thing you have been quietly afraid of. The thought you have not said out loud, that the fight going long is proof you are losing it. That if my favor were truly resting on you, the whole thing would already be over by now. You have been measuring my nearness by how fast the trouble clears, and when it refuses to clear, a cold idea slips in through the gap. Maybe I have moved on. Maybe the colors over your life came down at some point when you were not looking, and no one told you. I want to walk straight into that idea with you. It was never true. It did not come from me. There's a second thing the long fight breeds in a tired person, and I see it in you too. Impatience. When the arms wear out, the mind starts grasping, trying to force the ending, trying to make the seed break open on a schedule you picked, trying to shake the outcome loose before it's time. I understand the ache under that grasping, but the ones who try to rush the harvest do not get it early. They only wear themselves out at the very edge of it, and they call that failure. Desperation lives out in a future you cannot touch. I am here, in the ground beneath your feet, in the breath you just let go. So let us deal honestly with the picture of me you have been fighting under. Because you carry one, whether or not you have ever put it into words. The version of me you were handed, maybe passed to you by someone tired and frightened themselves, is a commander who marches you up a hill, points down at the enemy, shoves a standard into your hands. Then he steps back to watch. In that picture, I am mostly interested in whether you turn out to be strong enough. I gave the orders. Now the holding is entirely on you. And if your arms fall, that is your failure. I am up on some higher ridge, my arms crossed, grading your endurance. You did not invent that commander out of nothing. Someone handed him to you. Maybe it was a home where warmth arrived only after you had performed well enough to earn it. And you learned very young that being loved is a wage you work for, a wage you can lose overnight. Maybe it was a room where the talk was mostly about your falling short, and rarely about my coming close. However it reached you, you ended up carrying a god who is basically an inspector on a ladder. And you were so busy trying to pass the inspection that you never once looked up to check whether the inspector was even real. Not once. He is not. It is time to fight under the true colors, not under a shadow that somebody else, long gone now, cast across the hill. Look at that picture squarely. You have been exhausting yourself trying to satisfy it. It is a God who is really just a spectator with high standards. A God who feels near when you are winning and disappointed when you are not. A God whose banner is secretly a test, planted only to see whether you have the grip to keep it aloft on your own. Is that the one you have been serving? No wonder your shoulders are shaking. You have not been fighting an enemy. Not really. You have been trying to be strong enough to keep a distant judge impressed. That is not who is standing over you. Hear me carefully now, because this is exactly where the old picture cracks apart. The real me is not up on a higher ridge with folded arms. The real me came down the hill, all the way down. The banner over your life is not an exam you have to pass by force. It is a rallying point I planted on purpose, so that when your arms fail, and they will, they are meant to, you have somewhere to look that is not your own emptying reserves. Long before your trouble, I said I had given a banner to the ones who hold me in awe, colors to gather to when the arrows start to fly. I did not hand it to the strong. I handed it to the ones who would look up. And there is a difference between two things you have been treating as if they were the same. One is retreat, turning and running because the fight went long and the arms gave out and the whole thing felt lost. The other is rallying, turning back toward the raised colors, reformed, resupplied, reminded whose side has already won. The world only ever taught you the first one. It said, if you cannot hold it up by yourself, you are finished. I am telling you there is a second motion entirely, and it is the one that has saved armies. You do not collapse. You regroup, and you regroup to me. Picture the difference for a moment. Your body already knows both of them. Retreat has a certain feeling. The back turned, the shoulders down, the private verdict that says it is over and I could not do it. Rallying has a different feeling entirely. It is the head coming up. It is the eyes finding the one fixed point above the smoke and the noise. It is the smallest turn of the face that says I cannot. But the colors are still up. So I am not done. The enemy you are actually fighting wants desperately for you to confuse the two, to feel your arms drop and read it instantly as the end. It is not the end. A dropped arm is only ever one thing, an invitation to look up. Let me take you up onto a hill I remember well. A people barely free, out in a hard and rocky country, and an enemy falls on them right where they are weakest and slowest. Their leader climbs to a place where he can be seen above the fighting, and he lifts his hands over the whole struggle, the staff held high in them. And while his hands stay up, his people hold the line below. But watch closely now. This is the entire point of the thing. His hands grow heavy. Of course they do. He is a man, with a man's arms. And the fight is going long. Now watch what the others do. They do not shout up at him to be stronger. They do not question his faith. They roll a stone into place under him so he can sit. And then one of them, Aaron, stands on his right. Another, Hur, stands on his left. And the two of them hold his hands up for him, one on each side, so that his hands stay steady and raised until the fighting is finished. He does not hold the banner alone. He was never meant to. The victory down below is real, and it comes while his own strength is being carried by two people standing close on either side of him. Sit inside that scene for a moment. I know how alone you have felt on your own hill. If your arms have been shaking like his, tell me. One word, wherever you happen to be right now. Tired or holding, whichever one is true. Not so I can grade it, so that you finally stop pretending you were supposed to carry the pole all by yourself. You were never designed for that. The whole scene was built stone by stone to show you otherwise. And when the fighting is at last over and won, the leader does something that outlasts the battle itself. He builds an altar out of that place. He gives it a name. He carves the name into it, so that no one who comes after will ever forget what actually held them up. And the name he chooses is the line I brought you all the way up this hill to read. This is what he wrote. Exodus chapter 17, verse 15. Exodus 17:15. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it, "The Lord is my banner." Read it slowly. Every single piece of it was kept for you. He builds an altar, meaning that when it is finally over, he does not raise a monument to his own arms. He does not carve his own toughness into the stone, not for the record, and read the name itself. Not, "My hands stayed up." Not, "We were strong enough in the end." The Lord is my banner. He looks back across that whole long, arm-shaking, sun-crossing struggle, and he names the one thing that had truly stood over them. It was not their endurance. It was me. And do not read past that middle phrase, the one it would be so easy to skip. He called the name of it. He did not simply feel a private, warm feeling about the day, and then carry on. He fixed a name to that place out loud in stone, so the truth would still be standing there long after the emotion had drained away. There is something in that for you, right where you are. What has been holding you up is worth naming. And not only on your strongest afternoon, when gratitude comes easy and the outcome has finally turned. It is worth naming here, in the unresolved middle, with your arms still sore and nothing yet settled. Name it before you feel it. The saying comes first, and then the saying begins to hold you. And do not wait for the feeling to catch up. Feelings are slow. On the long stretches, they lag behind the truth. By miles. You can name those colors with a shaking voice and a doubting heart, and they are no less raised. Truth is not measured by how much of it you can feel. It is measured by whose it is. This one is mine. So say it into the doubt. Say it into the tiredness. Say it into the hour that feels exactly like losing. The saying is its own kind of looking up. Notice the order of it. This is where the lie you inherited finally breaks. The banner did not go up after they proved themselves strong. The banner was the reason they could fight at all. My presence over that hill was not the prize handed out at the end of their effort. It was the ground underneath the whole of it. That is what a banner is. Not a reward you earn by holding out longest, but a rallying point that does the holding. The colors were raised first. Everything else that mattered happened underneath them. And here is the part I need you to take in with your whole chest. It is the reason I can promise you any of this at all. The same one who is your banner did not stay safely above the fight. He came down into the very worst of it. Down into it. He let the longest battle there is fall on his own body. They sealed him inside a tomb. They rolled a heavy stone across the door and set a guard, and every power that has ever whispered that you are finished was certain the colors had come down for good this time. And then, in the dark, with no one holding his hands up on either side, he stood. The banner rose straight up out of a sealed grave under its own power. That is the one planted over your life, not a spectator on a higher ridge. The one who already went down into death and came back up with the flag still in his hand. So the banner over you is not a symbol of a fight that has not started yet. It is the trophy of a fight that is already finished. The hardest part, the part you could never have held the line on, was carried on a body that was not yours, on a hill you never had to climb. When you rally to those colors, you are not gathering to a promise that might come true, if you are strong enough. You are gathering to a victory that was won before you ever picked up up your first weapon. That changes what your fight even is. You are not fighting to win. You are fighting from a win, holding ground that has already been bought. Let that reach the tired part of you. You are not auditioning for my love. You are not on trial. The verdict is already in. It came in on a cross. It came up out of an empty grave. Your arms did not earn it. Your arms cannot lose it. The colors are up. They were up before you woke into this fight. They are up now. They will be up when it is over. So lift your head, not down toward your shaking hands. Up. That one motion is most of what faith even is, when the road runs long. So look back now at the question you carried up here with you. You kept asking whether you could hold the line long enough. Do you see now why that was the wrong question from the start? The line was never yours to hold by strength. And hear this as plainly as I can say it. It matters more than you know. I'm not promising you a smooth stretch of days where everything you asked for arrives on a schedule you laid out. I am not the voice that tells you your circumstances will all bend your way by a date you can circle on a calendar. The ones who promise you that are selling you a wage and calling it a blessing. What I am promising is myself, standing as your banner in the very middle of the fight, not waiting for you at the finish line of it. Not the war ending on your timetable. Me, planted in the middle of it, so that whether it ends soon or drags on far longer than you wanted, you are not the one holding the pole alone. When the trouble comes in over the walls like a flood, and it does come like that all at once, lifting a standard against it is my reflex, not yours. And notice what victory even turns out to be here. It is not the thing you were sold. You were told that winning means the enemy finally silenced. The circumstance finally bent your way. The proof finally delivered to everyone who ever doubted you. But look back at that hill one more time. The victory was never that those people became powerful. It was that they belonged to the one whose colors could not be brought down. That is the win underneath every other win. Not that you conquer, but that you are already on the side that has and cannot be dragged off it. You can lose 100 small skirmishes and still be standing under a banner that was never once defeated. Belonging to me is the victory. Everything else is only passing sky, moving across the top of it. So here is something small you can carry out of this hill and back down into whatever you were walking through. When you feel your arms start to drop, that specific, familiar sag of "I cannot keep this up much longer," do not read it as failure, and do not try to muscle it back into place. Let it be the signal to rally instead. One motion only. Turn your eyes, the same way you turned them at the very start of this, back toward the colors that are already raised. You do not have to say anything grand or find the perfect words. "You are my banner" is enough. 4 small words, you can breathe them out under your breath and no one else has to hear. And while you do it, check one thing your body has almost certainly been doing without your permission. Notice whether your jaw has been clamped shut, set tight the way a hand clamps around a pole it is terrified to let slip. Let the back teeth ease apart. Let the hinge of it go soft. You have been bracing your whole face for a blow that has not landed, holding the line even inside your own mouth. You are allowed to set that down. The pole will not fall just because your jaw comes unlocked. It was never being held up by how hard you were clenching. And here is one more thing, maybe the hardest for you to receive. Do not do this alone if you do not have to. Remember the 2 who stood on either side of those raised hands, one on the right and one on the left. Part of what I am undoing in you is the quiet belief that needing someone to help hold your arms up is a kind of shame. Proof you are weaker than you should be. It is not shame. It is the design. Find the one person you can give the long, true answer to instead of the flat word that ends the conversation. Let them roll a stone under you and take some of the weight. Being carried for a stretch of the fight is not the opposite of faith. Very often, it is the exact shape faith takes once the battle has gone on longer than one set of arms was ever built to manage. So keep the motion small. Do not build some elaborate ritual you will not keep. When the weight comes, lift your eyes. That is the whole of it. One look. You do not have to feel brave first. You do not have to feel anything at all. Look up. Breathe out. Let the raised colors do the part your arms could not. The looking is the practice. Everything larger grows straight out of that one small, repeatable turn of the face. You may not feel much difference the first time you try this, maybe not the 10th. The old reflex, grip harder, hold longer, prove that you can, has deep roots in you, and it will keep offering itself as the only option. But somewhere around the 30th time, you answer a shaking arm with a look upward instead of a strain. Something inside you will quietly begin to believe it, that the raised colors were never once depending on your grip. And a person who truly believes that can stand in a long fight without being destroyed by it, because they have stopped confusing their own endurance with their salvation. Give it time to settle into you, the way anything real needs time. You are learning a new reflex, and old reflexes do not leave quietly. Some stretches you will forget the whole thing and grip and strain the entire way through, only remembering to lift your eyes once it is already behind you. That is allowed. The colors do not drop on the stretches you forget them. They are not held up by your remembering any more than by your clenching. Turn back to them as many times as it takes, without keeping score against yourself. There is no ledger tracking how often you had to begin again. Only a banner, staying up, whether you are watching it or not. So let your arms come down when they need to come down. Your tired arms did not lower the banner over you. Your long fight did not bring the colors down. Your slowest season never pulled the standard out of the ground. Your worst, most faithless afternoon did not cancel the one who is raised above you. The banner went up first. It is up still, and it will be up long after the fighting has finally gone quiet. Amen. Before you go, think about the fight that has gone longest for you, the one where your arms are shaking even now. What is it? Set it down in one line below. Not for anyone to fix and not for me to grade, just so it is finally named out loud, out of the dark, where you carried it alone. I read them, and if a face came to mind while you listened, someone whose arms are tired too, send this along so they remember whose colors are raised over them.